long time. He's the author of The Coming Collapse of China, and he joins us. So, Gordon, thanks very much for coming on. Put this into perspective, if you would. To what extent do you think the Chinese government influences American policy?
Oh, certainly across the board. We saw during this midterm elections the Chinese tried to influence outcomes. And they did it with not only that famous Des Moines Register's four-page insert, but they also summoned the heads of Wall Street firms to Beijing for that September 16th meeting. You go on and on about the types of things that they've been doing.
Let me pause there for our viewers who don't know what you're referring to. September 16th, they, as you put it, summoned the heads of Wall Street firms to Beijing to do what?
To talk about the midterm elections, to talk about tariffs, to talk about the trade relationship, because Beijing was very, very concerned about what the Trump administration is doing to impose costs on China, because it is causing problems in the Chinese economy, which is under stress. So they said, look, we're holding this meeting, we want you there, and a lot of people from Wall Street actually took the flight to Beijing.
American citizens. Summoned by the Communist Chinese government actually went.
And they actually went and they held that meeting. And, you know, this shows the power of Beijing, and it shows that they were trying to change the results in the election. Now, I don't think that it would had any real effect, and the reason is, as Julian and you have talked about, across the American political spectrum right now, people are starting to understand the fundamental nature of the challenge that China poses to us. And it's certainly a much greater challenge than Russia, because Russia couldn't challenge the U.S. if it weren't for being backstopped by the Chinese.
Right. So, I mean, you've got to think of Russia as sort of a drunk troublemaker that can kind of, you know, make some prank calls. But in the end, China's economy is about to become, as Julian just noted correctly, larger than ours. So, like, why aren't we completely freaked out about our future?
Well, we should be, because the Chinese are taking hundreds of billions of dollars of U.S. intellectual property each year by theft or by forced transfer. And that is the lifeblood of our economy, because we have an innovation-based economy. And if we can't commercialize our technology, we don't have an economy. We end up just selling agricultural products to the world and maybe scrap metal. The point is, though, we need to have the technological giants that will dominate the future of the world's economy. They should be American. And China, by means which are certainly not fair, is trying to do that. And one other thing, Tucker, you mentioned fentanyl and opioid crisis. You know, the Chinese government runs a police state. They know about these Chinese gangs that are selling fentanyl into the U.S. And so those gangs couldn't operate unless they had Beijing's approval. Now, officials in China are making money from it, and in other cases, the Chinese officials are just standing back. But they purposely want to see Americans die, and we can't forget that.
Tens of thousands of Americans do die every year because of synthetic opioids manufactured in China, and yet I can't remember the last time I heard someone in our political class say that out loud. Why?
Oh, I think that it's because there's a lot of reasons. Part of it is because a lot of people are actually getting money from China. A number of reasons for other people is that they sort of believe that we should be engaging the Chinese. You know, this is the Nixon policy of trying to work with Beijing so that it's not on the outside of the international system. You know, that sounds nice, but it hasn't worked over 4 decades. We've tried all sorts of things, and it hasn't worked. We've tried negotiation, engagement. We've done all those things, and unfortunately, the Chinese behavior in the economy and in other things has just gotten worse.
Gordon Chang, thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Tucker.
Great to see you. Well, employees at Google just got caught once.